hey there, hey there, how do you do, audio, hey there, how do you do tonight? How are you doing YouTube? How are you doing YouTube? How are you doing my vlog? How are you doing? So today is basically gonna be a story time. It's just fun little story time. It's fun little story time. So yeah, if you like just more like chillax, just like talking to the microphone type of videos or story time, or if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons or just other type of like video games and RPGs and stuff, then you'll hopefully get a kick out of this one. So I'm just gonna be talking to you about my longest lasting and oldest running Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So it actually crosses more than one edition. So basically, me and my friends started this campaign, so to speak, and I say campaign loosely because it more of started out as like a couple small campaigns and some one-offs, some one-off sessions, and after a while of just using the same character and whatnot, other people started kind of using some of the same one-time, one-off character for a one-shot, and we just kind of found some sort of way in our heads to explain how these one-shots are connected, and we went back because of the fact that one particular person was really playing the same character every single time. All of these one-shot independent things. So we're like, okay, this is basically the Chronicles of Lucius at this point in our, D&D careers. So, we started taking like these small mini campaigns and these one-shots we had. That was with my best friend who was doing the same character basically over and over again. We found a way to sort of tie up some loose ends and make all of these like one-off sessions and like short campaigns connected. I say short campaigns because they were like 3 to 4 or 5 sessions, not like a full-on campaign, but we thought of an way of like actually going back and explaining it retroactively. And then bringing in some characters from old one-shots into like a full-fledged campaign. So let me start from the beginning. So that's basically how this campaign started, and we kind of dropped it for a while as we started playing other campaigns with other people. So we wanted to do different things so that they're like, we're all starting fresh together, you know what I mean? So we kind of stopped with it, but picked it back up again and continued from it on and off. But basically it was one continuous like campaign that we played for years upon years, but just we took a few breaks from it here and there to do other little things in the intermittent. But besides that, that's like the only D&D campaign I've ever had that's lasted more than, I don't know, like 10 sessions. It always seems to fall because someone's got a new job and they can't play on this or that day anymore, whatever, so-and-so keeps canceling, and we just kind of get mad and say screw it, so we stop playing, and then we start picking it up again, and we just say, let's just do a whole new campaign again. We have different players and whatever, but this has been the best one, the longest running campaign. So let's get down to it. So the whole campaign was basically just a result of my best friend. He had just been making the same character named Lucius the Eternal, which is, the character itself is not really based on him, but the name comes from a character from Warhammer 40,000, just a completely different game, but he took the name just because he really liked the name, so he just took the name, and the rest, there's not really any correlation. I'm guilty of that too. I've done that a few times here or there, I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, so this Lucius character, however he always played him, he always had like a level or 2 in Paladin, and then he would, be a fallen Paladin. He'd become a Blackguard, so he had prestige in Blackguard because we were playing in 3.5. So like you can't really, there's no paladin class for just evil. Back then, there's no like antithesis back then. As a just normal class, they had prestige classes, which means you had to like get a few levels. Have some base requirements and a few, like, oh, you can cast, third level arcane spells and do this and that. And then once you have all these like little random qualifications, then you can temporarily from like take like 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 levels of this thing, and it was called a prestige class back in 3.5 edition. So he would go paladin and he would make his way towards blackguard, and he usually would take like a little bit of like sorcerer or something, just like random, usually sorcerer for a couple spells, just for a couple levels I should say. But mostly what he would do is go paladin, and then he would make his way up to blackguard. Okay. Sometimes he would take like some necromantic spells here or there, but that's basically where it was. So his character was a paladin initially. I believe it was Bahamut. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was Bahamut. And he was raised by that temple. He was orphaned, and he never really like knew his family or anything, right? I think he remembers them very vaguely. I think that they died when they were young. Big surprise, tragic backstory, whatever. And anyway, so they had died when they were young by some sort of slaughter. They thought it was like bandits or this and that, whatever. Blah 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 blah. So he serves this temple of justice and whatnot and righteousness for a while, through like the teenage years and whatnot. He ends up finding like a hidden cache of records somewhere. I don't know the story, or he has some spirit vision from something or other. I don't know, but he uncovers the truth that this temple that he's belonging to, this faith is actually corrupted and are actually worshipping some sort of like a demon or a devil. I forget who, but basically they actually would kill people, kill families, and take their kids in to raise them up to become good paladins, right? It was basically just like a thing that they kind of like did for fun. Literally, they were evil and manipulative people, so they literally enjoyed tricking people, killing their family, and converting them and trying to make them the paramount of good, but they were actually like sending them into situations where they think they are basically being the arbiters of justice and going after like bandits and this and that, but they're not really bandits. They're actually like political rebels that are fighting for like a good cause. So they're actually cutting down more like Robin Hood like people and cultists of like good religions and stuff. And it was just like kind of, he noticed some like miscommunications and some like weird things that didn't sit right with him on some of these missions, so he started questioning things. He uncovered all of this, the fact that his family was killed by this temple. So he rejected his god and he had like a religious crisis. So he completely rejected gods, good, evil, neutral, whatever. He completely rejected religion, okay? So his character on paper was evil, but he played them sort of as just like a devout atheist. So he would do things and he would like fight against religion because he thought good and bad religion was both bad. He thought you should get rid of religion completely because it can be good or bad, but so many people were using it in bad for the most part in his experience, to where he basically, his life goal was to do whatever he could to dismantle religion, all religion. So he kind of argued that he was more of a neutral character, but like he would just indiscriminately go after religious figures because he thought that they were all corrupt. And if they were like good people and he actually did like them and figured out that they were legitimate, he would do whatever he could to try to like make them not religious. He wouldn't just go around completely outright killing people. If he could actually prove that person was a good character. And he had to had to have like legitimate proof. Otherwise, it wouldn't go over very well. So he was kind of morally questionable. Just very, very, very hurt and very, edgy, traumatized backstory kind of character. But because of his really strong beliefs and his just very overwhelming personality, whenever we were playing in like one shots or in short little like 5-6 session campaigns, his character would always end up being like the party leader because he was always super charismatic and he would just make these impulsive decisions that everyone else would be like, I want the party to get along with the party to get along. So, we're just gonna go with whatever he wants just to make it easier. So people would just be making neutral characters and evil characters and whatnot, and people kind of stopped playing as religious characters just because they didn't want to deal with character conflict. Because my buddy would just always be playing Lucius every time, so he just was like, okay, I'm just not even gonna bother playing a cleric. It's not even worth it, because everyone's gonna be on each other's toes. He's gonna try to murder me by the end of the game. It's just gonna be a whole thing, right? So basically, me and my friends started to play more as neutral and evil characters, and some of our characters that we played started to develop some of the same opinions as him and start to sympathize with him and his thoughts, because they realized that he actually is kind of a really nice guy and he was actually really supportive to them. So it was hard to be a really good character, but it was also you can't really play a super evil character with him either. It was kind of weird. He was anyway, so we ended up making characters that fit well with his super strong personality, and eventually we just kind of started to play a campaign that was just what does Lucius want to do? I think I was DMing it for a while, and basically it just turned into this thing where we were uprooting cults all the time. Uprooting cults, we were finding all these corrupt churches and whatnot and cleansing corruption, and some people thought we were really good characters and some people thought we were the most evil people ever, you know what I mean? So basically what ended up happening is Lucius and a couple of these other characters formed at some point later on, a few years down the line. These 3 characters formed what we called the Deadly Alliance, which we ripped off of a Mortal Kombat game. So that was, I think that was my idea. But anyway, so I started playing with this one character. My other friends started playing with this other character a lot in this new campaign, and we just kind of went back and looked at all these one shots that we had, and we had some reoccurring characters from I don't know, my buddy would always play the same character over and over and over again. 2, that was a very different character. They would always have the same name, but they would change the class from time to time. The same character name, and it was weird. So we kind of found a way to bring them into the meta. We went back and hooked up all those old plot strings, and literally the 3 of us in this Deadly Alliance, after we had this campaign going for a year or so, as higher level characters, we went back and was okay, what about this little campaign we did 3 years ago? Okay, well, I guess we could, say that this and this happened, which this explains, blah, 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 anyway, so, yeah, that's basically what our campaign was like. So let me tell you about the other characters that were in this Deadly Alliance. So my character, because we would rotate between DMs from time to time, we would, take turns, and we would actually, I know, we would have the DM play as their own character and the DM at the same time. It was a thing we did when we were in high school, and the first year or 2 of college. We were a junior college and whatever, but anyway, during those times we would character too, and we would rotate who was the dungeon master. So my character's name was Armon. I forgot what my character's last name was, but my character's name was Armon, and I was part elf. I was human, but I think I was like a fourth or like a 16th. I think I was more like, I don't remember, something like that. It wasn't a lot. I wasn't actually half elf. I gave myself literal human stats, but just for my character, just for my character's lore. So I had a few levels in wizard, and I ended up prestiging into Red Wizard of Thay, which means you are a wizard from a specific organization in the land of Thay, which in Faerun, which is like probably like the main, Dungeons and Dragons official world. Thay's an evil land. A little bit of a trigger warning here. They're pretty racist. Like they, not in like the way that humans are these days, but in the fact of like, oh, humans are the best, right? Not really like an ethnicity thing, but more of a literal like, my species of humans is better than like the elves and the dwarfs and whatnot, in that sense. Well, I was raised up in that environment, or my character was, right? And it turns out that he actually like, I don't know, like his grandpa or his grandma or whatever had a fling with an elf like 3 generations ago, so they kicked him out of the organization because they only allow pure human blood. And he actually knew for a while, and it kind of made him question his beliefs on race and whatnot. So my character wasn't actually like racist at all. They kind of grew out of that before I was even playing them. They met a few elves and half elves that they actually kind of liked, and discovered that they were, had a little bit of elven blood in them. So they had a change of heart, right? Eventually, it gets found out that I actually am just like a tiny bit elf, so I get kicked out of this organization. Whatever. Now at this point, I'm still evil. I believe I was a lawful evil character. I still wanted a lot of power. I wanted a lot of power and prestige, right? But I didn't know how to go about it, right? I ended up meeting this Lucius character. I thought he was a little bit of a whack job, I'm talking as if I was Armin, but Armin met Lucius, and oh my god, Armin was also stolen from a character in Warhammer 40,000. Oh my god, we're such nerds. Anyway, so Armin met with Lucius and thought he was kind of a whack job. Didn't really believe in him, or in his beliefs, I should say. He wasn't religious by any means, but through the course of the campaign, he started seeing these things that were happening in our campaign, where we were facing a lot of corrupt paladins and clerics and monks and whatnot, and we were seeing that like some of these evil characters were actually just like repressed, and the only reason they were evil is because the good guys were putting them in that kind of situation. So it was, kind of got to my character's head, and like I basically joined his cult after a while, So I was like the wizard, and I took a few levels. I prestiged into, I think I took a couple levels of like bard randomly, maybe sorcerer, because I wanted to prestige also into, what was it called, Red Dragon Disciple, because they get like armor class bonus, and they can like breathe fire or whatever, and I'll get a couple of new spells. Get AC, and they can fly too, and keep casting spells. So I just wanted to be able to fly, and whatever. So I ended up like making an alliance with like some sort of ancient red dragon, and he started giving me some like powers and whatnot, sort of like a warlock and lore, but whatever. And because I had this like dragon patron of sorts that I got stuck with, who actually kind of agreed with us, it was actually on our side, we ended up like getting a pack of different red dragons and other dragons and whatever that like kind of listened to me, because my character was just like that freaking awesome, because we were epic level characters, or like level 20 characters or so at this point. and that kind of started this whole Deadly Alliance thing, because we all started doing independent sessions. Like, we'd have one DM and one player, and we would run off and be like, okay, how are you going to create an army? All three of us have to go out, and we're going to become generals in our own army, and we're basically going to, like, take over the planet and completely destroy and eradicate religion. Yeah. I'm sorry if you're religious. This is just a game. I know, I'm not saying I believe in any of this ideology in real life, so apologize, I don't mean anything by any of this. It's all fiction, right? The other character was Kali Ma, or Kali Ra, I don't know. It's an Indiana Jones reference. I don't know, someone's getting sacrificed and they go, Kali Ra, and they like, or Kali Ma, and they change it to Kali Ra, whatever my friend did. He was playing a warlock. He didn't really believe in the stuff we did, but like, he was more like a mercenary type character that just was gonna tag along for a little bit, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and it just stayed with us for quite a while, for like a year or so in game, in real life or so. So eventually, he just joined with us more out of just like being a good friend with us than like really believing in any of it. He was like a chaotic neutral character, and he just didn't have any thoughts on any person, or like any religious preferences, or any like ideological. He was more like the nihilist, more like a Joker like character, honestly. He just wanted like power, and didn't really know why he did it. It was just kind of like for the funsies, I guess. So that was their character. They were a warlock, and yeah, we actually had played like 4th edition for a while and went back to 3.5. So we were doing this campaign in 3.5 when 4th edition was still around. So he was playing a warlock from 4th edition because he really wanted to play that type of character, right? So yeah, it just kind of ended up to where they were altering a 4th edition class to fit, because I think there was like a warlock in 3.0 but not 3.5, but maybe they put it in as like a prestige class or something like that, but not like a full-on regular class. I don't know. For whatever reason, we just took and modified and made up warlock into our own kind of stats to fit with 3.5. Anyway, yeah. So basically, by the end of it, we had killed a couple gods. Oh, okay, I forgot to mention. So as far as like these armies go, right? So I had like an army of dragons, right? I had some like Tiamat cultists that joined us, and we like tricked them into thinking it was like a Tiamat thing, but it really wasn't. We were just kind of like using them as like just pawns, basically, honestly, because we didn't believe in it. That was a whole spiel. Our whole spiel is that we didn't even believe in religion, but we took these like evil dragon cultists because I was getting so many dragons, chromatic evil dragons. We just tacked some on there and just like, yep, okay, cool. Which is kind of ironic because like Lucius's whole thing was he was tricked into being religious, serving a different god than his was supposed to be. So it's pretty hypocritical. But maybe that's part of why he wanted to destroy religion, because it was hypocritical. Anyway, whatever. Not getting into it more than that. But yeah. Anyway, so we had a few really big battle scenes in well-known cities, in Faerun, and like the main world of Dungeons and Dragons, like the big capital cities, like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter, and a few other ones, whatever. A few ones that like we made up. I ended up getting a large support in Thay. Actually, I ended up like taking over Thay and becoming the ruler. So we had like an entire army of like Thay and Red Wizards and whatever that I like turned into not being racist. So good job, me. Yeah, so that's where my like main army came from. Lucius just assembled a bunch of surprise, anti-paladins, blackguards, and whatnot. A few like necromancers and stuff too. He had a lot of mercenaries too, a lot of mercenaries, and he ended up like, you know, having some large mercenary company that he was the leader of. I think he somehow became nobility and became a lord of like a dukedom or whatever. So he had some like, peasants and men at arms and whatever. I don't know, right? But it was a lot of other blackguards, other anti-paladins and evil religious cultists that were fighting against religion, anti-religion, cultists fighting against religion. Anyway, and Kali Ra they ended up having an army of mind flayers, of illithids. Basically, we had I had a mission or like a campaign that I was DMing, and they ended up like killing an elder brain, and like, I don't know, somehow with some homebrewed magic weapon or item or whatever, they ended up like resurrecting an elder brain and ended up getting like 30 different illithids. So, the elder brain is like a brain that controls all the telepathy of like these 30 individual mind flayers, which are like telepathic, like force wielding aliens. They're like literally aliens with weird tentacles and stuff that can use the force, is a good way to explain it, and cast magic. So he ended up like telepathically owning and controlling this elder brain, which then owns and controls 30 some odd illithids, which are like level, I don't know, 8, 10, 12, I don't know. It was also a different edition than when we're at now, so I don't know what the combat rating is these days. But yeah, he had like an army of illithid, so he would take one and he's like, oh, this one weird thing that I did in one-off session, okay, I'm gonna exploit this. So like, him and I had sat down and done some sessions independently and built up this army of illithid mostly. He had some like cultists and this and that too, and some other individuals from the Underdark, which is mostly where the illithids live. So I'm pretty sure there was some like drow, some dragar and whatnot in there as well, but it was mostly just a big, massive army of telepathic space aliens. That was his army. Yeah. And basically the whole plot line is we purged all of religion from an entire continent, which is basically like the whole planet for the most part. It's like a Pangea, but there's like a smaller continent like way off where I don't know. Anyway, I don't know exactly how Faerun works, but I'm sure people will tell me. But anyway, so we basically took over this large continent, which just takes over most of the world, and we ended up killing the god Bahamut, because they actually give you stats in 3.5 for gods, and they're all like level 30 to 40 characters and whatever, and they full on stat them up. And we found, we're at this point, we're strong enough that we have all these magical powers and items, and we have connections, so we're traveling across dimensions and different realms of existence. So we ended up killing Bahamut, like the god of justice and dragons and whatnot. I think we ended up killing Pelor too, and the Court too, like the god of war and strength and athleticism and stuff. I don't know. We ended up killing 3 to 5 gods because we were all like level 25. Because in 3.5 you can take epic levels, which are just like stat boosts basically on top of like being just a normal level 20 character. After you get like epic levels, all it does is just give you extra hit points, and your ability scores and whatnot just go up and up and up and up and up and up. That's what it like kind of how it worked in 3.5. So eventually we just started killing a few gods off, and yeah, that was basically the campaign. We didn't succeed in successfully fighting off every single god. I think one of our characters died in one of the fights, and we just like ended up like dropping the campaign. Something happened. I think Lucius like became, or was it like the chained god accidentally? He ended up like becoming him and replacing him. Like we killed the Chained Oblivion or whatever, and Lucius took his place, and the gods wrapped him up and made him the new Chained Oblivion because we killed the Chained Oblivion. I'm pretty sure that's how that happened. And one other character died. I don't know if it was me or Kalira. I don't remember, but that's how the campaign ended. Is eventually other gods started grouping us up, grouping against us, right? So we'd have a few different gods going after us at once, and there was a big fight where we had to fight. We were fighting them off one at a time, but eventually they just kind of ganged up on us, and we weren't quite that strong enough. So we managed to kill several gods. So in our lore, in 4th edition, where there's like the magic sundering and whatnot, because like Mistra, the goddess of magic, dies or whatever, and like 4th edition lore, and a few other gods die and whatever, and causes a bunch of chaos. We just homebrewed that as the end results of our campaign, because in our game we literally did kill like 4 gods, so we just was like, yep, 4th edition is just a plot continuation of where we left off. I know that's how we explained it. That's how we explained it, even though we were playing it during 4th edition, because we started in 3.5 and we went into 4th edition, still playing 3.5 because we just like the game mechanics of it better, like most people. Anyway, now we play 5th edition. We've been playing it for a while, after like a year or so after it came out, we've been doing that. But yeah, that's basically the story. Hopefully you found it enjoyable in a really weird, dark way. I know it's kind of a weird campaign, and again, no offense if you're religious, no offense at all. This is all fiction, this is all make-believe. It all came out of just like my friend being super edgy when we were teenagers, so don't look into it too thoroughly. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Ciao for now. I bid you adieu. See you in a while. Crocodile. See you later. Alligator.